Well, hello there, and welcome to the Ham Brothers podcast. I'm your braggadocious host, Robert Burnell. With me, as always, is the Walrus, Anthony Cayes.
Hey.
And Matt Shipway.
Oh, hello.
Always downplay you.
Hold on, braggadocious?
Yeah.
That's a word.
Well, you don't like that?
To be honest, I've never heard it.
Never heard the term braggadocious?
No.
Oh, shit. Well, you learn something new every day. But forget the three of us. It's about our very special guest, my longtime friend. That's how he made since preschool. That's how he wanted me to introduce him.
Yeah.
Matthew Belardes. Thank you very much for being here, man.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Coming here.
Soon to be Esquire, we hope, right?
We hope. We hope.
Yeah.
Pending results, bar exam.
That is
We'll see.
my niece is a lawyer, and I always thought that was the most fucked up thing in the world that they make you. How long to make you wait to find out?
It's about 10 weeks, I think.
8
to 10 weeks.
To see if you pass the most important test you'll probably take.
And does
in
it
your
take
time.
that long to grade, or what? I don't know. I don't
Technically,
understand that.
I think they do their justice in reading everybody's answer, and they have somebody read it a second time, and if there's a disparity
Right.
in the result, they have a third person read it. So we'll see. But I mean, part of it's multiple choice. Give me that result right now, so I can
Yeah.
at least
I was going
know.
to ask, what percentage would you say is actually handwritten?
So half of it's handwritten. Well, it's on a computer, but with AI and stuff,
yeah.
you know, like I heard you talking about AlphaZero the other day. So
Yeah.
it's like, can't that just read it and tell me immediately?
Right.
Pass or fail? Keep studying?
Yeah.
So.
And is it like they give you like how are the short answer or long answer questions? How are they presented? Like is it like they give you like a case thing and you gotta examine
study.
it?
So
or-
part of it is, so part of it is like an hour and a half of case study where they give you don't need to know anything about law school to do that part. They just give you, here's a bunch of facts, here's a situation. Write a memo. you know.
Right.
And then there's 5 essays where it's here's what happened, you know, pick all the legal issues and what's the
Okay.
result. So, but the truth is, you could pass the bar exam with just memorization alone. I mean, you don't necessarily have to go to law school, which is part of my criticism of the whole thing, is why don't they just give this at the start to determine if people can actually get through it.
Right. Instead of paying
Like
and
Leonardo
going through.
DiCaprio did in Catch Me and You Can.
Yeah, that's no
Remember?
joke. I mean, a smart person with serious commitment to memorize for 2 weeks could probably pass the bar exam. Maybe not the first try, but maybe the second try. Yeah, it's just
I'm encouraged now. I'm gonna
don't go to law school.
give
Try
me-
and
give
take
me-
the bar exam, but don't go to law school.
How much does it cost just to take the exam?
It's about $1,000.
Oh, shit. I was going to suggest
like-
we should all try and take the bar exam and see who
Yeah.
actually passes.
If anybody out there wants to take one, I will administer one for free.
Oh.
We'll just do it at a library or
free
something.
test.
Oh, that'd be amazing if the
Practice
three of
test?
us. The three of us just to see who would score better. I mean, they'd all be abysmal, obviously, but just see who.
Hey, you don't know that. We could find out that one of us is like a savant somehow.
Yeah,
like
it could
in
be.
law. Like, I watch a lot of Law and Order SVU, man. So I mean, I'm not.
That could be enough to get you there on certain subjects. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. I know you're all Roe v. Wade. I know that one.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one case. Well, dude. So, where'd you go to college?
So I went to college at UC Riverside. Stayed
Right.
in the 909. I guess that's
Attaboy.
951 probably now, but
That's right.
stuck
Separate.
close to Chino. And then, so in college, I started with business because that's what my parents pushed me towards. And then it's super boring to study just accounting and finance. Picked up political science, very fascinated in everything going on at the time. It was 2002 to 2006 is when I was in school. Slightly turbulent time in America with the war in Iraq and everything going on. Really interested in that. Very interested in just people's legal rights and all that stuff's important. We really take it for granted in my view. Spent some years in financial services, decided to go to law school part-time, worked full-time at Morgan Stanley. Throughout the financial crisis, I started law school August 2008, about a couple weeks before the financial crisis kicked high gear. Graduated 2011 into the worst climate ever for attorneys. All my friends with perfect grades could not find jobs, and I just said, well, I'm going to punt the bar exam for now because my friends can't find jobs. I'll stick to investments. And I spent a few years having a good time out in San Diego, partying and up and stuff.
That's actually another thing.
That's a whole other podcast.
No, because
But we can get there.
We've kept in touch basically through social media, but I
Yeah.
haven't actually been in your presence in several years, and I've always looked at your social media with longing for the PB Palace, the Pacific Beach Palace.
Yeah, I
Now-
can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, because you how many different exchange students did you have? I mean, it looked like
Man,
looked like fucking constant revolving door.
So 2011, I graduated. Life looked pretty bleak, career-wise, and I just thought, what am I gonna do like these next few years? I guess I'll just rent a house, 5-bedroom house, rent out the other rooms to international students, and try to make connections. And at the time, I was starting to think maybe, I mean, things were pretty bad in America. I thought maybe I might try to just go to Europe, work there for a while. So every semester, I mean, the semester system for about 4 years, every 6 months, I'd trade out all new roommates, and I would just staff it with people from every cool country. I mean, Germany, Switzerland, Sweden, all these places. And for a while, I started to think, man, what am I really doing with my life? I'm just partying with all these crazy people. But that actually ended up being the reason I met my sweet wife sitting over here.
Oh.
I was gonna ask if that.
She was a foreign exchange student from Germany, did a semester at San Diego State, and she's Turkish in origin, but so she knows 3 languages, and she seems like the kind of person who meshes well with me.
I was gonna ask you, since you've been married now, are you sprackensy? Are you?
No, not very well.
No.
No. The funny thing about that actually is I was learning German because I wanted to seriously I was at a Swiss bank. I left Morgan Stanley to go to Credit Suisse. I was trying to learn German. I wanted to go to Switzerland. Then we met, and she convinced me to stay in San Diego. So I kind of gave up learning German, and then we got married. So I need to learn it again.
Yeah. So does she curse at you in German?
No, she curses in Turkish.
Oh, that's even
Yeah.
harder to pick up.
Yeah,
But I'm sure you know all the worst ones by now.
I've learned a lot of them.
Yeah, I took German for 2 years in high school. I only remember the bad words.
Yeah, yeah.
That's usually every place I've ever gone, I've tried to learn a little bit of the language, but I'm so poor. Like in Italy, no one would let me try.
Yeah.
Like waiters and shit would cut me off and be like, "No, I speak English." I'm
Yeah.
like, please, just let me know. Like,
Let
no,
me
no,
practice. No.
We don't have time for
I've
that.
worked so hard.
Is Ein Bier bitte is 1 beer, please, and that's all you need to know.
Right.
German. That gets you around.
Eins, fine, 2 beers, please. Okay, so then, so you went to Credit Suisse, and then
So,
The
get what we're here to
scandalous-
talk about. So, financial crisis, of course, that's one giant scandal that destroyed most of America for the time being. So I left Morgan Stanley for Credit Suisse with this plan to go to Europe. At Credit Suisse, the Swiss banks have these really beneficial laws for people that are trying to hide money.
how's that fucking legal, by the way? Internationally, for them to give loopholes in the Caymans and wherever the
Yeah,
fuck else.
so-
Because the Swiss are so nice. What are you gonna do to them?
Well, the thing is, some of these countries, like their main way of making money is by saying, "Hey, we will park your assets and not inform the United States government." So if you buy a
That's the pitch?
stock,
Right.
yeah, really, that is because think about it. If you buy a stock, say you're a multi-millionaire and you have $10 million in stock and a company that you started, right, and that's since grown to $50 million. So if you sell it, you're going to pay taxes on $40 million.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you move that money to Switzerland or the Cayman Islands or Singapore is a big one now, they will not report that. They have privacy laws, real strict bank privacy laws, which is good for consumers, I think, in a way that you don't want your banks ratting everything out to the United States government. And these rich people take advantage of that.
So that'd be my question. So, as a financial advisor, if I was a super rich person, that would be an advisable thing to do, right? To hide my money and
Yeah,
and not have to-
I mean,
you wouldn't advise that per se.
well, if you did advise that, you would have to really make it clear that people are taking a lot of risk in terms of legal liability with the United States government. So
I mean,
there
because they
lies
could
the
just
problem.
take it.
Yeah, well, like the Facebook guy from the movie, what's his name, Severin or whatever. He had to actually renounce his citizenship, and I think he's a citizen of Singapore now. He moved all of his stock over there
Oh,
to
shit.
avoid paying. I think he was going to pay like $100 million in taxes or something.
Yeah, I'd move to
So-
Singapore for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
if you are going to make that kind of recommendation, you kind of have to explain the full legal situation.
Right. You
and-
can do this, but there
Yeah.
will be some sort of consequence
Right.
eventually.
I was trying to get at. There's no fucking way Trump doesn't have some hidden shit.
You would assume, right?
Oh,
You would think.
come on, dude. Just the way his personality is,
Yeah,
he's got hidden money.
you would think.
I would think so.
I would assume. Yeah, I would assume anybody over maybe $20 million. It's probably advantageous to them to move assets abroad
Yep.
and cover. I mean, financially advantageous. Legally, very risky in my opinion.
Right. But like, is that subpoena? could they subpoena that for Swiss banks? Do they have to give us anything? Could the government actually?
Okay, so this gets back to the Credit Suisse thing. So the U.S. government told Credit Suisse, we want the information on these individuals that have accounts, we believe, in your bank in Switzerland. And I think UBS, which is another major Swiss bank, I believe they complied, and Credit Suisse said no. This is not according to Swiss law. According to Swiss law, you don't have to do this. The government there protects them. Credit Suisse said, we're a Swiss bank. We're not going to comply with this. Take a hike, United States government. And the United States government said, okay, that's fine. You are committing a felony, which is conspiracy to commit tax fraud. Credit Suisse said, we plead guilty, flat out. They didn't even fight it. Then I think they had a major fine. It was 1 point something billion.
Jesus.
And then, so I'm at the Credit Suisse private bank, right? None of my clients were doing any of this stuff, by the way. So,
Of course not.
no. But the people in Credit Suisse back in Switzerland said, fine, we'll pay that fine, and we're going to completely just close our American private bank. Like, we're out of the business.
Oh, shit.
We'll focus on, their thing is we're going to focus on Asia, these other countries that will not have a problem with this.
And it's a fuck you to people like you that are going to get shut down.
Yeah, in a way. So yeah, exactly. So I was left in. So my whole plan to go to Europe and do all this stuff was pretty much blown away at that point, and that's kind of where I said, well, what am I going to do now that am I going to stay in America? Or, if you take the bar exam, the state you take that exam in and pass is the one you have to practice law in. It's not like a national exam.
So if you moved to a different state, you would have to take that state's
yes,
bar
exactly.
exam.
You have to take it again.
Licensing is, too.
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking, do I want to stay in California? I mean, I'm born and raised here. My family's been here for 1800s type of stuff. And what do I want to do? Yeah, way back to like 18. I don't want to go Elizabeth Warren on everybody and say, oh, I'm a Native American, but technically I do have family members that built the mission of San Juan Capistrano. And if you go down there, they have like this was the Belardes family ranch from 18 whatever.
Oh, shit.
You should get that back.
Yeah, I should get it back.
Get that ranch back.
Well, there's a funny story actually that I've been told. I don't want again the Elizabeth Warren thing. I got to be
It
careful.
was stolen, I'm guessing.
Well, so the thing is, Mexico lost the war to the United States. So who got a lot of that land? The Irvine family, and here you go, Irvine, California. They own all this stuff, and hence the story. I'm not a billionaire, but maybe that's for the better. If I was a billionaire, I'd probably be a little bit different guy.
No, I bet you'd be a very gregarious billionaire.
Could be president. 35 this year.
That doesn't hurt.
Right.
Having billions doesn't hurt.
I'd have my money in Switzerland, and I'd be president of the United States. So.
Hey, that's the way to do it. All right, so continue.
So they plead guilty. They announced everybody. For a while we thought they'd sell our company to like another company, and they just decide, no, we're just going to lay everybody off, or you can go work at Wells Fargo. And I said, well, what's that severance package look like? And so because at the time I'm thinking I have no idea what I want to do really, and I was kind of burned out on the financial field at the time, so I'm thinking maybe I just do something radically different. So I kind of waited it out just to see what would happen. And then they come along, Swiss companies, European companies, they come out and say, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pay you, I think it was 3 months, to just not show up to work. So you're going to get your check every 2 weeks. You don't got to come in, and just do whatever you want to do.
Deal.
And I said, wow,
Done
cool.
and done.
That's a pretty good severance package. They go, oh, no, that's not the severance package. When that's done, we'll pay you another, I think it was like 8 weeks of work.
Wow.
So I thought, like, what am I going to do? Wow. Hey, maybe we should travel all 50 states. And then I can really determine what's up with America. Do I want to stay here? Do I want to be somewhere else?
Right.
That's such a blasé way to throw out that you're going to travel the entire fucking country. I mean, it's got to be a very low percentage that have seen all 50.
I have to think it's almost nobody. I mean, we met people on this trip who had never been to Hawaii, and they were retired and 70 years old. And we said we're traveling all 50 states, and so.
Oh well, fuck you too then.
Yeah, I mean, I have to. So I have to imagine you're right that the number of people that have done it, I really would be fascinated to know the number.
It probably. I mean, more than likely, like candidates, right? Because they kind of have to.
Yeah.
But even so, I mean, some
skip a lot of
they
places.
Oh
skip
yeah,
a lot-
they're not going to every single one.
No, and they're definitely not seeing the country the way that we were seeing the country, and
Right.
kind of uncovering the nitty gritty. and all the historical stuff we hit. I mean,
So you started out in San Diego, right?
yeah. So we did the trip in 3 legs because my now wife Aishin, she's never been camping or anything. So
What? No camping in Germany? Is that not a
but
thing?
not in Berlin.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, she's a city girl from Berlin. So
Yeah, you don't really want to go to the German camps out there.
yes, I love that joke.
I set you up for that totally.
Perfect.
That's not intentional.
I'm
at all.
surprised you didn't shout it before I did.
No,
That is
sorry.
perfect. They do have camps in Berlin, but yeah, you don't leave. Bad joke. So I thought we should do kind of a mini trip to get her accustomed to what the trip would really be, which would be a lot of camping, sleeping in a car, crashing with a friend, crappy hotels, just really roughing it.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're doing a trip of this scope, and I mean, I was on a budget too because the money that they were paying me was not a lot, and you're eating granola and beef jerky, your typical road trip type of stuff, but you're going to eat it for, I think our total trip we planned out was about 120 days.
Wow.
So we did one small trip where we went through the Grand Canyon, Bryce Canyon, Zion, the stuff that's kind of close. And that was fun, cold, camping, crappy hotels. We went through Vegas, Hoover Dam, and then we came back to California for about another month or so before my actual job was wrapped up. And then in May, I think it was like around May 2nd, that's when we really started the trip.
Okay.
So the first real leg was about 3 weeks where we did kind of a big loop up to Tahoe, Yellowstone, and then down through Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, and came back to San Diego because I'm still still leasing out these homes with the international students, just taking
Right.
care of it for the landlord. Wrapped them up. They finished up their semester, and then we took off for like the really full about the 90-day leg of our trip, which was off to New Mexico, Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico, then on to Texas, which is a gigantic state.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how long you drive through that. And we went through the South, and I'll give you the regions before you guys can ask about states and whatnot.
Sure.
But so we went through kind of Texas. We did the southern trip, which was like up through I think like Mississippi, Tennessee, down through Georgia, all the way down to Florida, Key West. Then from there we went all the way up the East Coast, all the places you can think of like D.C., New York, all those, to the westernmost part of Maine, then across to Vermont, where Ben and Jerry's is,
Right.
through trying to think of all the places. I mean, from Maine, we started cutting across the northern part of the state, of the country, to Detroit, Chicago. We did July 4th in Chicago. If you're a Cubs fan, we were at the July 4th game. I think I gave you guys my blessing to win that year
That's what happens.
because they did it. And then we kind of did almost like a U shape because we went up to Minnesota, Green Bay, Minnesota. Then we went down through like Arkansas, Missouri, Arkansas. I forget which order every place is in. So like Missouri, Arkansas. Then we went back up through Kansas, all those states. I forget.
Wow.
I should have brought a map in here.
Well, dude.
And then we cut back across, flew to Alaska, came back to San Diego, down to the West Coast, stayed for like 2 weeks, flew to Hawaii, done.
Shit. Okay.
God damn. Yeah, I was gonna
That's the
ask
fast
you
version, man.
if you
So-
if you drove to Alaska, but
We couldn't actually because Aishin's from another country, so she couldn't leave the United States in that
on
time
visa
frame
she-
because of her visa. Yeah, so we had to
Oh.
fly. Otherwise, we might have. We didn't get to drive into Canada. I wanted to do that, but she's not allowed to leave.
You would have had a smuggler.
I'm not allowed to drive into Canada either.
No.
No,
What did you do?
no, because I have a DUI on my
And
record.
they won't let you in?
No, it's a felony there completely across the board, first time offense.
Really?
So they consider anyone with a DUI to be a felon.
Wow.
So I can't just stroll in. I have to actually have permission to
We need a visa.
to enter
Oh, wow.
Canada
How long is that?
until it's off my record.
Right.
It's almost off. That was like 8 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been
when
a
I was
while.
young and foolish,
Yeah.
driving fast, drunk.
All of us. You got caught. I didn't. That's good.
So what would you say was the best part of that entire trip?
Boy, I mean, these are these tough questions.
I know.
So the best part of the trip, again, I would have to divide it up.
Bonding with his wife. Of course.
Well,
Well, I mean, in terms of,
I mean,
the
if we're talking
state that
personal
you're-
life development, the truth is, when you're with the same person for 100, however many days it was,
it was
we
a
had
real test of the marriage.
it's a real test of can you seriously. I mean, 24 hours a day, we're together.
Right.
This whole trip. So
yeah, that's like a band. You're like a touring band.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
basically.
Yeah. So in life personal development, yeah, my wife and I figured out we could live together permanently. It worked out. I learned who she really was. She learned who I really was, and hey, it worked.
Nice.
So personal development wise, I suppose that would be the best. Some of the best really highlights of the trip is, man, America is beautiful. So one of the things, and I wrote Rob this earlier today, was I wanted to take a moment to point out, if you live in California, Southern California especially, you really need to take a minute and get the annual pass to the national parks.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you could spend 2 to 3 weeks and really hit up all the major West Coast national parks, Yellowstone, Zion, Grand Canyon, these places. And if you have kids, especially when they're getting a little bit older and can appreciate it, it's almost mandatory that you do that. I never did that when I was younger. My parents did take me to some parks like Yosemite and whatnot.
Right.
But man, you're missing out if you don't see that at least once in your life, because it's unbelievable, the beauty of this country.
Yeah, it's so I found it strange. Like when I went to Yosemite for the first time, Yosemite, it was I was
Yosemite,
shocked.
the Europeans call it Yosemite. At
Yosemite.
first, before you
Yeah,
explain.
that's what shocked me was the level of European tourists.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck? Because for me, I go back there to see things of historical significance.
Right.
Because our country's so young in
Yeah.
that regard. We don't have.
Country's
we
like
don't
10
have-
years old.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean-
in comparison to everyone else.
Yeah, we
right?
go to Ireland and drink in a bar that was around 200 years before we were a country.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, there's a little bit of play there. But then, yeah, the natural beauty of this place gets
Yeah.
lost on us because we're
Oh,
just
yeah.
here all the time.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us, I mean, I was born and raised California, so I always felt, oh, Yosemite's close, I'll see that later.
Sure.
Right.
And I really encourage people, I mean, man, if you get 15 days of vacation a year, use it and just go see the parks and
Right.
rough it and camp there. And I mean, you won't regret it. And it's cheap, man. I think
Yeah.
we looked it up today. I think it's $80 for the national park annual pass.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's not
really
bad at all.
it's really inexpensive. Campgrounds are, I think, like $15 to $30 a night. It's not expensive. It is something.
Well,
I
that's
fully
dependent
recommend.
too on what time of the year you're going and
Yeah,
stuff like.
well,
you
and
know,
that's a
like-
good point actually, because like Yellowstone Glacier National Park up in, I can't remember that. It's I think in Montana. Those places are only open for about 3 months a year, 4
Right.
months a year. Otherwise, it's cold.
I'd really like to go to Yellowstone, but I'm
Oh, it's
afraid
a
it'll
must.
explode while I'm there.
I'm more concerned about that too lately, actually.
I guess
Super volcano.
I guess we're all fucked. No matter what, I guess
Doesn't matter,
I don't
yeah.
have to get any closer to it. It'll be fine. We'll all be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's like the end of.
It's actually, I've heard it's better if you go in the first blast, because the thing is, if that blows up, then like no plant life will grow.
Right.
So
Then it's like Ice Age again.
yeah, go in the first flash.
Yeah,
Don't
I'd
starve.
I'd much rather just go immediately.
Yeah.
with some sort of
Same thing with the
natural
nuke.
disaster.
I
like
wanna-
that.
What a way to go, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
super
Just
volcano
in a
blows
blaze,
up.
a literal blaze of glory.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to probably have to be doing something glorious.
Yeah.
You know, like
For sure. I thought about this because like the pictures of like Hiroshima, like guys that were like real close, they
Yeah.
just become shadows,
Yeah,
basically, right?
Yeah.
Just before you
Yeah.
die,
throw the horns.
up.
Oh, yeah.
Or just get in a good funny position.
Yeah.
Same thing with Pompeii. I always thought that was hilarious when they, like, they actually found like frescoes, like walls with tagging on them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? It's like they would seriously like Julius is a dickhead.
Right.
That kind of shit. And I go, oh my god, that was from the beginning.
Right.
Right.
From the beginning we were doing that. It's like so
Yeah,
hilarious.
We've not changed a whole lot.
No.
No, not in that regard. We're still
Yeah.
all silly, writing on walls. I'm like, dude, because tagging pisses me off.
Yeah.
But then I think about it, I'm like, that's part of your heritage, I guess.
part of what happened.
Right.
Matt was here.
I mean, some of the stuff that we saw actually on our trip was Indian tagging from 1,000 years ago. So maybe there is some historical benefit to tagging.
Right.
Yeah, I guess cave art is,
The
Technically,
first tagging. Yeah.
yeah.
but they're drawing pictures.
Yeah, it's
though.
like I saw a cow today. That just put it on the wall.
Oh no, it's more like the location of the cow, like
Yeah.
where the livestock is.
Right.
you
It's
know.
all chase these.
But I mean,
these kill you.
they're still drawing pictures, just nothing. I mean, not anything specific, I guess, like to any historical value of the time.
Maybe it's just the fact that it's a person's name.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
putting their fucking name up there. It's not like
But but you've never seen have you never seen a piece of graffiti that's like impressed you? Like,
oh no,
like,
of course.
holy
They shit on
like-
trains all the time. They're
Right.
very good artists. Like it just pisses me off in particular when they do it in nature.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Of
It's like, what the
course.
fuck is wrong
right.
with you?
Like on a rock.
Bro.
It's like, come on.
I
It's
guess
like
the
oh,
ar-
you just like they write dick or something. You're
Yeah.
like, dude, come on.
I guess the argument is probably no one's coming to remove that. So if you
Right.
do it in the middle of nowhere, you have a
Yeah.
higher likelihood of it lasting.
The
than-
other tagging
Right.
crew is not going to come by anytime
Right,
soon.
exactly. That's always the thing
Scratch
that
your name
baffled
out.
me about it is like you're repping. One thing if you go out there and you do like a dope piece,
Yeah.
but if you're just repping your crew name, it's like what are the chances that your other crew is coming out there to even see that to be pissed about it?
That's true.
Well, there's I mean, tagging wise, there's a big difference between the people that do those giant, colorful pieces and then just the gangsters that just
Oh yeah,
It's like,
territory
you know,
marking, right?
you
Yeah,
can't
write
read.
their name.
Yeah, craziness. Well, yeah, that's an interesting thing too, because one thing that always strikes me, you know, and I brought it up on the last podcast, is that there's like 10 million people in Los Angeles County, 19 million of us in the entire state, which is fucking crazy. That means more than half of us are all crammed the fuck down here in the bottom half for the most part.
Right.
But then once you start getting out, you start seeing nothing.
There
Things
is
out
nothing
and-
for miles. I mean, this country is massive. And actually, that's one of the things that I thought about a lot on the trip as we're going through Utah and New Mexico and these places. Is I was thinking about the settlers. You know, the settlers coming out here. So we're driving through Texas, and it takes us 14 hours to get from San Diego just to New Mexico.
Doing 80.
That
Right,
yeah,
right.
exactly. On a road that's unobstructed, and
Yeah.
and then that's just to get to the edge of Texas, like El Paso, New Mexico, right there. And then I think to get across Texas, I don't even know how long it took, but that's another like, I think probably 10 hours. Now imagine doing that in a wagon,
Right.
Ugh.
Without a road.
without a road, with your food supplies that you have with you, and hopefully you find food on the way. And I mean, there was Native
Maybe
Americans
somebody's
out there.
gonna try to kill you. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. I mean, think about that, and it's just when you're out in these places, when you're out in nature, and you see how old you see first how old the Earth is.
Yeah.
And when you look at these rocks, like this place has been in the works for millions of years,
Right.
and then you think about people trying to come this way, and then all these mesas. I kept thinking, how the hell did the frontiersmen get to this mesa, and there's just gigantic drop off.
Right.
So what do? You go around. I mean, we go through this road that's cut through. They just cut it out of the rock.
Wow.
What did these people do? And I mean, I don't have the answer
Ropes.
for that. It's crazy.
Just lowering your oxen
Yeah.
down there. I don't think that really worked out for them.
Yeah, I
Who
mean,
knows,
what do you
man?
do? And it's just then we went to where the Transcontinental Railroad met, Golden Spike, Utah,
Yeah.
and you just think that that connected each coast, and that was 18 something, and before and after that, just traveling coast to coast is just so impossible in my
Right.
opinion.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah, dude, it's pretty incredible, like how young of a country we really are in the scheme
Yeah.
in the scheme of shit. And that was when I was younger. I was like disillusioned with being American,
Right.
Because I felt like it was just an assimilation of shit. It's like
Yeah.
that's essentially what we
Oh,
are.
yeah.
You know, we're amalgam of absolutely everything.
That's
But
right.
For some reason, when I was younger, that felt shallow to me.
right.
And I would look to Europe and be like, well, there's the fucking history. Like we're just these
There's the
upstarts.
culture, and yeah, we're
Pew,
kind
pew,
of
pew. We're just
yeah.
these little cowboy upstarts. There's nothing worth, it's all built on other shit. That's what I was always felt like lesser of it. And when I first went to Europe, I was very hypersensitive about being an American. Like I didn't want to be disliked or misjudged. But then after being over there a fuck ton, I realized that if for no other reason, you should be an American all over the world, because wherever you go, they're fucking that place to the T. Every place I've ever been, an Italian man has told me, Italy's the greatest fucking country in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
England's a fucking great. Ireland's, yeah, I'm sure. You better believe it about where you're fucking from, because
Right.
wherever you go, they're not going to disagree with you if you don't like where you're from.
Right.
Yeah, they'll be like, yeah, fuck you, fuck America. This is the greatest place.
Yeah.
That's why we
Yeah.
stay here. So I'm like, after that, a few times, I'm like, wait a minute. Now I feel the eagle rising.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I see
There's
it.
my American flag.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Give me my Coors Light and that flag.
Right.
Cut in line. Get the fuck out of my way.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, dude, Did you tell me you ate barbecue? I was going to ask if where the best barbecue is in the South, and I was also going to ask you what's the most atrocious Southern accent, which is the hardest to
Worst
understand.
Southern accent.
Is it Alabama? I hear they talk real fast.
Well, we stayed with friends in Georgia, so I would say that for me the Southern accent's not so bad, not so difficult to understand. I think some of the people in Memphis, Tennessee, it's kind of a mix. New Orleans definitely have a little bit of a Creole accent, but it's pretty much. I mean, you can understand everybody where you go now at this point. I think it's because of TV and technology and stuff. People are kind of.
Do you think the accents are diluting because of television?
I do, and it's kind of a bummer because you like to hear that Southern drawl and all that, but
I love that. That's basically if you ask any non-American person to do an American accent, they go straight for the.
Yeah, South Texas.
Hey.
I mean, Boston. The Boston accent's still tough. So.
Yeah, that's hard.
And I don't know where they even get that from. 'Cause
No.
Irish people don't talk like that, and not even the English. But Boston.
It's it's so strange.
Yeah.
Just enough people started. What if it was just one guy one day started talking like that, and it just
all
just
picked
caught
it up.
One
fire?
guy just beat everybody up. Talk like this now.
Yeah.
Is that your Boston accent?
It's as close as I could get.
Yeah. Whitey said, "Hey, this is how we're
Yes.
talking from now on."
Yeah, exactly.
You say chowder like chowder.
Yeah.
Did you get your Philly cheesesteak in Philadelphia?
We did actually. We got 2 Philly cheesesteaks, I believe. There's like 2 competing "We Are the Philly Cheesesteaks" spots.
right.
They're right across the street from each other. So we
Did
had
you
to
crown a
eat both.
champion?
I don't think we crowned a champion. I think we just figured they're both pretty good.
Right.
Way better than anything we have out here. And that's
Did either of them put the cheese whiz?
Yeah,
with
the squeezy
sauce
cheese.
in
yeah,
it?
that's their thing.
See,
Definitely is
God
cheese
damn it,
whiz.
I don't like that shit.
If you don't do cheese whiz, it's not a really
Really?
cheesesteak. Yeah.
Is it? Wait, hold on a second. There's no other cheese besides cheese whiz?
I don't think so. I think they're pretty strict on the cheese whiz, which is like chemical cheese, but that's
Yeah.
cool.
Well, see, I
So-
wonder if maybe they have their own particular recipes in which it maybe gives it a better. Because I just like if it's just like the straight cheese, like cheese in a can shit.
I
Like,
think it's cheese in a can.
I can't do
Yeah.
that, dude.
Well, and that's one thing to say actually about the diets outside of California is, whoa, they love their calories and their salt and
The
their sugar.
process,
It's pretty wild, man. I mean, everywhere we went in the South was fried chicken, everything.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we went to Waffle House. We tried all the local everything and like barbecue. We had barbecue in Texas, and I think in Tennessee, and it was all good. But I mean, once you eat that stuff multiple days in a row,
Sure.
I mean, I think we were into the trip maybe 30 days, and I don't eat kale regularly ever, but I'm thinking I need some salad.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I don't eat salad. My wife knows I don't like salad. I think 30 days in that trip, I was dying for a salad
Oh,
or
yeah,
a
well,
poke
you're
bowl,
just-
It
some
might be
coconut
dangerous,
water.
Asking for a salad in Texas.
Oh yeah, they
Right.
were like, "What? Are
What?
You, what are you from
Shock-
California?" or
shotgun
something?
cock.
You're some kind of goddamn liberal. I knew it.
Actually, there's a funny story with that. We were in Tennessee at a battlefield, I think Shiloh battlefield for Civil War, and the guy at the register, super talkative. "Oh, where are you from?" Blah blah blah. So to the guy in front of me, he's like, "Oh, we're from Mississippi. We're just up here to travel, whatever." He's super talkative. I come to the register. He's like, "Oh, where are you folks from? California?" And it's just like, "That'll be $10.50." I'm like,
Oh,
"I'm here for your
man.
guns, man. Taking all your guns.
That'd be hilarious. Be like, so what are you doing in town? Just taking guns.
I'm here to get rid of that Second Amendment." Man.
yeah. Well, Second Amendment protesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd go over fucking.
Right.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, what do you think about Florida? Because I dislike Florida. As a
Really?
state.
So, part of the problem with Florida is it's so humid. I mean, the humidity.
Yeah, it's gross.
Dude, nobody from California is ready for that humidity. I mean, we have our sunshine and our 75 degrees, and out there you check, oh, it's 75 degrees today. You walk out the hotel, and you're sweating immediately. So that was pretty rough. The funniest thing about Florida is we pulled in, and I needed gas, so I pull into the gas station, and I'm pumping my gas, and what pulls up? These 2 dudes in a big old lifted truck hop out with their camo pants and everything, and their orange hunting shirts.
Do you want to be seen or not?
Yeah, right.
Fuck.
And I'm like, God, this is if you were to ask
Click the
somebody from,
outfit you're wearing right now.
yeah, it's like if you were to ask somebody from California, what do people from Florida look like?
Like that.
That was it right there. And that was in the northern part, the Panhandle, I guess it's called. And but we went down to Miami. Miami was cool. The Art Deco district, that stuff's kind of interesting. We went to Key West, and I'm like big into history and stuff. Obviously, it's part of my trip. So we went. So in Key West, I thought was awesome because we're chilling at the bars that Ernest Hemingway used to just get blackout drunk,
that's
writing
fun.
his badass books, and
All
so-
the while, there's like party bitches like right behind you or something. Like,
Dude, I was gonna say like like we went to like where James Joyce in Ireland where he's writing and shit, and I get all hammered there, and then I go back to the hotel and I'm like, this is the day.
Yeah.
Did you go back and start writing? You're like, this is it. Here
gonna
comes
write my
that novel
novel.
I've been thinking about.
I've got the novel idea. Yeah,
I got that Hemingway in me. Let's
Yeah.
go.
well, I couldn't focus in that bar because those white chicks were just singing Mr. Brightside friggin' along with that guy playing the guitar.
Yeah, that's what's unfortunate is that like all of the best tourist places are tourist places
Right.
for like everyone all over the fucking world. So it's like,
yeah.
like, dude, I was in the catacombs and some German young men were being very disrespectful, taking inappropriate photos with
Jeez.
the skulls. And I was like, Jesus Christ. But it's the same thing. It's like, it's not just, it's just not just for me, unfortunately. However reverent I want it to be, or like, however I would like it to be quiet as
Yeah.
I, look at something. It's like, no, it's not just for me,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
we definitely saw a lot of the tourist traps, and I think we experienced some of that. But part of the trip, I mean, before we even left, I did months of planning. So we went to a lot of the lesser-known tourist spots. I mean, what I pretty much did was look up every single state. What should you see in each state?
Right.
And I kind of just made a list of natural wonders, historical places, tourist traps, just anything of cultural relevance to being an American. And we went and we saw that. And some stuff is, nobody's going there. I mean, we'd go to like civil rights stuff in Alabama, and people are there to see that. But I mean, nobody's really going to see where, a church bombing took place, right?
Did you take a picture like Elizabeth Warren did in front of where
Dude, that's
where
crazy.
MLK got shot?
Yeah, so what you're referring to is, so we did go to the Lorraine Hotel, is in Memphis, Tennessee, and Martin Luther King was shot there. So we went there, and I took a picture of the location, but I just felt super odd of treating it like a tourist place.
Yeah,
because
right.
it's and I should
It's an
cross.
assassination.
Yeah, the man was assassinated here, an important man. Now I do have to caveat that because when we went to where JFK got shot, I was like taking pictures and going wild with conspiracy. There's all these conspiracy guys there.
Is there like a plaque there, or
There is some weird plaques that say stuff like John F. Kennedy was assassinated here, and people have like crossed shit out and just said like.
So
know,
you
the
say
government
you say
did
there's
it.
conspiracy theorists. There's like other dudes in like trench coats like taking notes. And
Oh
shit,
no!
or, like,
There,
trying
so
to be,
there's
like-
guys there with booths. They have a booth, and they
Oh,
have like
gotcha,
books and
gotcha.
DVDs, and they're telling you what really went down.
it's like
and-
I killed him?
Yeah.
So-
But I was all about that. But at the Lorraine Hotel, I just felt it's a much more somber thing. I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
he was killed because of racism,
Yeah.
and he was a unique figure. And I mean, everybody knows Martin Luther King, right? And then recently I saw Elizabeth Warren's there taking a video with her husband,
She's
having a
taking a selfie.
romantic moment, taking a selfie, like, hey, we're trying to finish what he started, donate to my campaign. And I thought, wait, what? I mean,
Sometimes I wonder if they're genuine, if it's genuine and dumb, like they don't understand the optics of what they're doing, or the opposite, which is they're totally aware and don't give a shit, and they're pandering.
I
I don't know.
think it's genuine and dumb. I think they're so far removed. I mean, she's a millionaire, and everybody can laugh about her whole thing about claiming to be Native American and all that stuff. But the truth is, I mean, she's 99.9% white woman, went to Harvard and all this stuff, millionaire. She's so out of touch with the people that Martin Luther King was rallying for.
Right.
Well,
She's legitimately
to be
not
fair,
connected.
it is super American to say you have some Native American in you.
Sure, yeah.
Like almost every fucking person I know
Cherokee.
is like, I'm 10% Cherokee.
I've
No,
heard
you're
that a
not.
million times, yeah.
I fucking bet you're not. But yes.
Yeah, I was always
Yeah.
envious whenever people would tell me like, "Oh, I have this however much Native American in me." I'm like, "Fuck, my dad's English, and my mom's a Jew. I have zero Native American in me that I can claim."
No. Well, unless you're like isn't there someone that some people that believe that the Israelites are I'm messing this up. It's this crazy conspiracy theory.
There's like the black Israelites. I know that was in the press lately.
Yeah,
I can't remember what their whole thing is though.
That the Jews aren't actually the Jews of the Bible. That black people are, and
Yeah,
I don't know
something
who
like
you guys
that.
are supposed to be.
I haven't heard of it.
Who
Makes
knows?
sense.
We're all people, man.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway, that's my view at this point.
So yeah, what was your least? Well, actually, I was going to ask you also what the hell is there to do in New Mexico, because it seems like that's just a big blank spot.
So New Mexico is actually pretty beautiful. There's a lot of really old missions there. I mean, I think
Oh.
the first mission ever built in America was in New Mexico, and we looked it up today. It was like around 1610. So think about
Oh shit.
Jamestown was started 1609, and the Spanish were already here for like 100 years before that. And a lot of people don't really think about that way, that the Spanish were here that much earlier than the English.
Right.
And so there's that type of historical stuff in New Mexico. Yeah, New Mexico's pretty beautiful, actually.
Breaking Bad tributes.
Oh, the truth, yeah. So we went to the Breaking Bad house.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
No joke. So we have a picture in front of it, and there's a lady sitting out there who's pissed because people show up and throw pizzas on the roof.
Yeah. I've read about that.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a real problem. She's got a camera out there. She's got a sign.
Was there any pizza on the roof? When
There
you
was
were
no
there?
pizza on the roof, but they were sitting there waiting for people. I can tell you that. And they were not happy.
Funny.
Like, just give me the pizza. I'll put it on the roof for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
free pizzas on
Should
your
have just
roof.
brought her a pizza and said, "I'm just giving you a
Right.
pizza."
This is just for all the
She
people.
Knocks it out of your hand.
Yeah.
It's just, no.
Yeah.
So it was like the worst like tourist trap like type of thing that you guys
Worst
stumbled
tourist
across.
trap. I would probably say a lot of stuff going down in New York.
Oh, really?
We got hustled pretty badly in New York to, hey, I'm going to take your, I'll draw a sketch of you guys and look at these sketches I've drawn, which, those guys have never drawn that sketch, right?
Right.
And so this dude draws, he might as well have drawn stick figures, and he wants $40, and I'm not going to sit there and argue with some Chinese dude, so.
Right.
My
There
wife
you
gets
go.
mad because I treat those people with hostility immediately.
Oh, really? I have compassion.
So
I'm
you,
just,
you paid him the $40 for the
I
crap
paid him the
drawing?
money. I just
Oh.
said, I'm really big on karma, and I
Right.
know I just got hustled. Another story about that is in Italy, some African dudes tell me, oh, my wife just had a baby. And I'm like, all right, dude, here's €10, whatever. Give me your bracelet. I'm bad at that. In Birmingham, this guy came along, a homeless guy, and he, to his credit, he did give us a little tour of the area and said, oh, I was a kid, and this is what happened here, and this is what happened there. And at the end, of course, he hits me up for money, and I gave him like $40. But tourist traps, I mean, just your usual suspects, but definitely New York is built for that.
Yeah.
And DC built for that.
Yeah, and when I was in Rome, some asshole comes up with gives my wife a rose.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh, no problem. As soon as she turns her back, he's like,
Yeah.
I was like, give him back the fucking rose.
Yeah.
Give it back to him.
Yeah. And I'm
She has
handing
enough,
that
she
guy
has enough of
euros.
these at home.
The guy's assuming that I'm not going to do that. Like, no. Honey, give him back that fucking rose. I'm not giving this guy any money. But probably the best was the first time I ever went to Ireland, and this young guy, he's in his 20s, he came up to me and he's like, excuse me, sir, could you spare a few euro so I could call home? I haven't spoke to my son in several days. And I was like, yeah, sure. But I had like a fuckload of euro in my pocket, which always happens because you don't realize how much money it is.
Right. Yeah.
And he sees how much money it is as I give him a euro, and he sees how much I have, and he goes, could you spare a bit more? It's going to be a long phone call.
Oh my God. It's like,
And
dude.
I said, I'll tell you
Skype.
what. I said, I'll tell you what, dude. I was like, tell me what you really are going to do with the money, and I'll give you 5. And he's like, I just want another pint. I was like, here you
All
go.
right, yeah, I'll
Yeah,
pitch in for
okay.
that.
There you go, kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honesty goes a long way with me when you're asking for money or anything.
Yeah,
Like,
just tell me the truth.
yeah, just tell me, dude. I had a guy come up to me and just tell me like, he's like, hey, straight up, he's all, I'm not trying to bullshit you. He's all, I just need a couple bucks. I want to get a tall can. And I'm like, all right, here you go.
Yeah, I
Fucking
don't blame
handle
you.
it, dude. Like, don't give me no bullshit. Like, be like,
Nah.
oh, my kid's sick.
Yeah.
Like in Rome, that's what shocked me about the homeless there is that they like prostrate themselves to
Yeah.
the ground, because they're ashamed, I guess, or just
Right,
the way
yeah.
the society is structured is
Yeah,
crazy.
it is odd. Because they're in like this position of like praying almost.
Yeah,
With their
like,
hands out and
with their face down, their hands out.
yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of amputees were down there too.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
but
in the subway.
I'm glad I missed that because I would have been out of money real fast.
Handing
I
out money to
couldn't-
amputees.
Yeah, feel bad.
Yeah, it was. I was scared. I was scared in the
In Rome,
just in the subway in Rome.
I was scared. Oh man, if you want to know a place I was scared in America,
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna tell you one thing. I've always been pro gun rights and Second Amendment, whatever. But I've always felt like the whole idea of, I need this gun for my self-protection. I've always felt that's kind of like, come on, how dangerous can it really be?
Right.
Man, going through some of these places in the South, like we were in Memphis, Tennessee, and we stayed at this hotel that was super sketch. And some of these places I thought, it's not so much that the people there are dangerous or anything, just that they're so spread out that how are the cops going to come here if there's a problem? And I started to really feel like, okay, I kind of get it now that some of these people that are very hardcore pro-gun in some of these red states, it's not like California, where there's a police department probably every, 50 miles.
Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to
whatever.
not see a cop every day.
Right. And
Yeah.
out there, it's maybe they have a sheriff, maybe they have 3 sheriffs for a whole county, and the county's massive.
Yep.
And the crimes, some part of my trip, part of our journey was seeing some place of America really not in a good position economically. And what does that breed, right? Crime, problems, and violence.
What's sketchier, Memphis or Detroit?
Boy, the place that we stayed in Memphis was a little more sketch. Although I got to give a shout out to my main man, Money, who offered me like PCP at the at the hotel. We're going to Beale Street in Memphis, which is like the little party area. And this guy comes up to me and, "Oh, where you going, man? You going to Beale Street? Oh, I got some stuff that will take you way better places than Beale Street." And I call him Money. I don't know what his actual name was, but I assume it was Money because he had money tattooed on his neck.
Fuck yeah.
But so that was a little sketch.
So how much PCP did you take?
Oh man, I took enough. Well, let me tell you, we got through the whole trip on PCP. It was awesome.
There was no rest of that trip. That's where the trip
Yeah.
ended.
The trip ended. I think I went on it. But
It just came down, actually, about 2 weeks ago.
yeah. But Detroit, I don't know if I would say Detroit was so sketch as much as just kind of, I don't even want to say depressing. It was just, wow, if you go to Detroit, it's
fucked up.
You can't even really compare it. If you've never been to a place that's really seen an economic calamity or a real disaster come through, you'll have no understanding or appreciation of what Detroit is until you actually go.
Right.
And when you're going through these neighborhoods and you see, actually, let me explain it like this, because the guy that we stayed in an Airbnb, which is like an abandoned house that somebody purchased for $15,000, I'm sure, and was just Airbnb-ing it. And he explained that there's like a cycle of the housing situation there now, that these houses became abandoned. And so first what comes in are the scrappers, and they strip the house of everything that can be scrapped. And then comes in like the drug addicts, the homeless, and they're just in there doing whatever.
Chilling.
And then at some point they get kicked out, and then the arsonists come, and they
shit.
burn these houses down. And you see burned out houses everywhere.
Well,
These
people
dilap-
are pissed off, probably.
Yeah.
It's probably the dude that owned the house before or something.
Could be. And then after that, the city finally will condemn them and raise them to the ground, and then it's an empty field, and then the urban farmers come in. And so it was just this weird thing to drive around and see, well, here's a house where people are living in, and here's a house that's dilapidated, and here's a house that's clearly like a crack house, and here's a urban farm.
Right.
And you see this all over the place, and it was, I never felt unsafe in Detroit. I just felt almost like a weird sorrow. And you go through their downtown, and they have like full-on skyscrapers that are abandoned.
Right. Oh shit.
And the train center there was actually in like Transformers 1 or something. It's like it was a movie set because it's like it looks destroyed,
Right.
but it's abandoned. It's a massive, beautiful building, but just as if it was a relic of the past.
Wow.
And and that was the experience. I mean, I call it like the Detroitification of America. You would see that in certain cities as we drive through, which kind of gets me to my thing about how California, and especially in 2016. Like I said, I don't want to talk politics really at all, but 2016, that the election everybody wants to forget.
Right.
I kind of had a good appreciation and understanding for some of the frustration that's going on in some of these states that explains some of these election results and some of the stuff going on around the country that we can't even comprehend. I mean, I grew up in Chino, with Rob, and I come back to Chino now, and it looks amazing. I mean, it looks better than I remember.
Gentrified.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, wow, there's more
Not as
more
many
than one
wide
Target.
open fields.
Right. Yeah.
No dairies left.
Right.
Much,
The dairies
like-
are gone. Houses are there. There's kids playing. There's schools built. I see economic prosperity. And then when we're driving through America, there's certain places we go through where, like I said, I wouldn't say that I felt unsafe. And I still consider Chino to be like I assume it's a working class town to some extent. It
Sure.
was when I was growing up. And we weren't by higher economic means by any mean. But you kind of see in America where they had these small, vibrant communities that maybe relied on some local plant, and that's gone now.
Yeah.
And then you see the aftermath of that, and then you wonder, like places like West Virginia. I thought West Virginia was beautiful. I don't understand how that place has the highest opiate crisis in America right now. And I just, my heart kind of pours out for some of these places. And then, we read the New York Times and we watch CNN. These places are all based in New York. They don't understand what's going on there.
Right.
So.
No, I could totally understand. People feel like, they're left behind.
Yeah, and they are.
Yeah.
Right.
It's, for a long time, I've always felt that the real divide is between city folk and country folk in America, because we live in completely different worlds.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially in California, there's very few places where you can get the urban sprawl like we have.
Right.
You can go 100 miles of just solid
In
housing.
any direction, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And it definitely changes your perspective. Like, I have no fucking clue what it's like to live in Ohio. No clue.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me, that was kind of a real eye-opening experience, because the truth is, you think you have an idea, right? You think you know what it's like in Ohio. We grew up in the suburbs, so you think, oh, it must be kind of like that there, right? We're not in the city.
Right.
But you go out there and yeah, it's so different. It's hard for me even to explain. But yeah, it is a rural area. There is not a lot going on. And I can see real quick where if economic things go south, people are real quick turn to drinking and probably, the worst drugs. Marijuana is illegal in these places, so it's like,
Right.
I think marijuana is pretty harmless, but you can get prescription drugs from your doctor. What do you think everybody's going to do?
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's actually cheaper and more compact to
Yeah.
take pills.
right.
But yeah, and like you said, when the bottling plant or the coal mine closes, whole communities go down.
Right.
Because they're not multifaceted the way the suburbs and urban cities are, of like how many jobs there actually
Right.
are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to paint a picture like all of America is like bad outside of California.
No, it's
certainly
gray
that's not the case.
wasteland. It's depressing.
Yeah.
It's something
you've ever
like
seen
Mad
Mad
Max.
Max.
There's
Yeah.
definitely gonna you have your thriving, the major cities and stuff like that. But then, like, I'm
Right.
sure once as you said, as you spread it out, once people get spread out a little bit more, there's less for them to depend on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. But which is unfortunate because all these people live in really great places. There's really cool things to see and do even in places like Kansas. One of my favorite cities I think that we went through was Omaha, Nebraska. Was really beautiful. Lots of young people. We were surprised, and the downtown area was really lively. And the downtown area is pretty small, but
So you got young people here too?
I was like, wow,
well,
look at
it's
this.
college town too. No,
I suppose that's
right.
probably part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just so many parts of America are just really vibrant and alive and awesome to see. All of the major cities, of course, and the national parks, even on the East Coast, are awesome. And the people are so cool. And I guess kind of one of the things I always write to Rob about is just it feels like unfulfilled potential, I guess, in a lot of ways.
Right.
And it's like I guess what I'm saying is, and like we've talked about, I don't want to come off as a pessimist in some of these places. I feel very optimistic about the future. It's just we should do probably a better job of recognizing how we can help some of these places.
Right.
See, I like that's the positive flip of the American stereotype, of our stereotype, is that we have that spirit essentially, and then they had the negative connotation that we're all fat, but just not fucking true.
Not all of us.
Not all fat. Just I don't know, whoever we send over there to go look at the fucking Big Ben is fat apparently.
Yeah.
I hate that when I see other American tourists out. I'm like, you're fucking this up for all of us.
Yeah, man, give us a bad name.
You're wearing those shorts, for God's sake. Don't
Yeah.
do it. God damn it.
Yeah.
Shorts are just almost, I wouldn't say they're exclusively American, but pretty American.
Yeah, that's true.
Shorts. Oh
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dudes.
I do wear shorts. I'm not gonna lie, but I live in San Diego. What do you expect?
See, after this, that's what we'll come back around to. After all of these journeys, you've seen it. You've seen the whole country, and you said, you know what? San Diego, California is still the greatest place.
San Diego, I gotta be honest. We went to a lot of nice places. Charleston, South Carolina is a beautiful place by the beach. They get hurricanes though. That's a problem. So
Check minus.
yeah,
for
you lose a lot of
hurricanes.
points if you're getting a hurricane every. Oh no, it's only every 5 years. Oh, okay.
okay.
Well, I'm 35 now, so I would have been through 7. No.
Oh well, y'all got earthquakes in California. I wouldn't want to
Yeah,
go through that. Actually, they're pretty fun.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have
right.
shit flies around.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
real bad shit hasn't happened too recently. So
just
I mean,
fires.
yeah.
We're on fire. Every
Yeah,
Well, I
day.
mean, in terms
fires
of our
are worse
earthquakes,
than-
we haven't had a bad earthquake really all that bad. We got just a bunch of little ones. Yeah, knock on
Yeah.
wood.
right now.
Knocking on wood.
Yeah, but San Diego, man.
So, I mean, we went to Alaska, we went to Honolulu, we went all over the place. But, I mean, California's good. San Diego, I like especially over places like Los Angeles. San Diego, the people are really chill, really down to earth. The rent is pretty good. There's jobs there. They don't pay as much as LA or San Francisco, but I mean, it works out. And it's hard to leave. It's hard to leave.
See, everyone's like, I heard
Housing is
someone was
expensive.
saying like, well, they got a big homeless problem there, and I
They
said,
do.
yeah, you know why? Because if I was fucking homeless, I'd like to be homeless in San Diego,
Right.
Yeah.
not in like if you're homeless in like
Alaska?
Detroit or
Yeah.
like somewhere where it's fucking cold every year.
Yeah.
Oh, why? Get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Head south. Oh
Right.
my god.
Get to a warmer climate. Yeah.
Yeah, like oh my god, when they had that deep freeze
Oh, yeah.
recently, what did it get down to? Negative.
Negative 20 in some places.
Yeah,
I
something
think it's still
crazy.
dropping down
Worse
too.
than that.
Yeah. How does anybody survive that if you're homeless?
Oh my god, I can't imagine, dude.
They come to San Diego, I think.
Yeah, dude. When I went to Honolulu for the first time, I saw this bum. He had like cut off jean shorts, and he was like tan like a turkey's roasted.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and he was drinking. He was just drinking on the beach, and I was like, "Who's the asshole, me or this guy?"
Yeah, right?
Like this guy's got to figure out. He sleeps on the beach in paradise, just gets
Yeah.
drunk, begs for money. I'm like, oh, wait, what?
Yeah, that can't be bad.
No, he looks totally happy. I mean, you know, probably has some skin cancer, but
Yeah, happy within reason.
Slight case.
totally happy. Well, I would ask you what you plug, but you don't plug anything. Unless you're
no.
gonna run. Are you gonna run for office in 2020?
Oh, man.
Do you have? If you're gonna run for office, do you have to start at city council level, or can you just go right for senator?
Ask our president. You can
Yeah,
just
right.
go
Oh, that's
for it,
right.
dude.
That's
I'm
a stupid
35. I
question.
could go. I could run for president right now.
Now you just have to have a reality show.
Yeah. Well, so this is kind of funny because I say the Belardes 2020 thing on my social media, like when I'm, I like my rants from time to time. I don't know. I mean, I've talked about doing a podcast. So my thing is, being through law school and working in investments is I'm an analyst by trade. So, like going through America. I mean, like I said today, I don't want to come off as negative on some of the stuff I said about America. And it's more like I see problems and I just think we need to fix this. Like I just start breaking stuff down. Like this could be better. That's just how my mind works, and I just look at the political system and our economic system, and things aren't working for people. And I have a friend who's paying $1,000 a month for health insurance premiums for a family of 5, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, how is that possible? The student loan crisis. I mean, we're a nation of 1.5 trillion in student loan debt. I think that they're already defaulting. 200 billion of that already is in default. That's only going to go up. How are we this close to AI solving everything, but we don't have any practical solutions? So I joke around about running for Congress, but the truth is I've looked at the political landscape and I see, I mean, anybody can run for president, obviously, and you got people with no experience running for Congress and winning and saying crazy stuff, really. And I don't know if running for Congress is the right thing. And
You're not quite as pretty as AOC, but
no.
but I think you could do it.
Well, and I say it kind of as a joke, but I really think, again, me trying to be the eternal optimist, is I do feel like stuff like this podcast, people's blogs, tweeting, I guess the thing is, my basic premise is this. If you look at the printing press, okay, 1400s, right? Before that, the Catholic Church had a monopoly on all information. The printing press comes along. Now words are in everybody's language. People are exchanging ideas, beliefs, whatever. Okay, what did you have after that? You had 400 years of liberation. Well, liberation through what? Warfare, strife, all these crazy things. In a lot of ways, I think that social media, this is a newer technology very similar to like the printing press. It's new. We're not really understanding how to use it.
Right.
I mean, you guys have a good podcast here, but other people have podcasts saying absolutely insane stuff.
Yeah.
And they have a following. They have 1 million listeners.
We should say more insane shit.
It might get you a bigger following, which is part of the
Right.
problem.
I'm just gonna parrot Alex Jones until we get more followers.
But Joe Rogan was kind of one of the pioneers in my changing and becoming more optimistic because I see he has millions of people listening in, and I see this big hunger out there for new ideas, new information, and at the same time, the dumb voices are extremely loud, and they do have their millions of people. But I mean, you also have rational voices and calm, sensible people who are following people but just staying quiet. And I think that is a bigger group than most of us really understand.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to grow because our generation does not care about this left-right political paradigm.
No.
I mean, we probably have a lot of conservative beliefs and a lot of liberal beliefs, and I'm not going to die for some tribe.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care about that stuff.
See, I think that's the whole, my view, the whole problem is I think most people are somewhere in the middle and the extremes kind of fight each other, but it's getting people in the middle to be engaged.
Right.
Because they don't, no, I do not give a fuck about politics. I don't want to hear anything about it. I don't watch I mean, there are people who are like, no, what's going on? I have no idea.
I've never watched CNN, or
I have no idea. So
I'm
it's
totally out of it.
Why? Is there some controversy?
Right.
Or?
Yeah, and again, like when being optimistic, the truth is what you're talking about, like the average common person rising up and doing something about it. That's happened multiple times in America. There's a book that I tell people to read. It's called The Fourth Turning, and if you Google it, there's going to be all these articles about, oh, this is an alt-right book, but these guys wrote this in 1998, I think, and it's really just a historical explanation of the cycles that America goes through.
Right.
And they call it these turnings, right? Because every generation is about 25 years, and so that's, and also at any given time, there's 4 generations alive. I mean, the World War II generation is still alive right now.
Right.
People don't really always grasp that. And their philosophy is that there's these kind of existential crises that America goes through. So the first one's obviously the Revolutionary War. The second one, about 100 years later, Civil War. But 100 years after that comes World War II. And now we're about not 100 years, but about 80 to 100 years since World War II is where we're at right now.
Itching for another one.
Well, yeah, and what comes before the fourth turning, they say, is the third turning is actually, oh, let the good times roll, everything's fine.
Roaring 20s, stock market crash.
Exactly. And so I'm a big believer that the cooler heads prevailing, the rational, silent, quiet people right now, I think those people step up and get it done when it's important to get it done. We're still in this good time. We had the financial crisis. I said I wouldn't say his name because I don't want it to turn in that direction. But the president, we all know who he is. He's what I call more of a canary in the coal mine. Everybody wants to say whatever they want about him. In real political terms, my political analysis feelers went off, and he's more of a canary in the coal mine. That the democratic system we've prepared and we think is ruling us is not doing a good job, and he's kind of a flash in the pan. Wake up, pay attention.
Yeah.
And I think that's happening right now. So whether he's out in 2 years or has the full, 6 more years to go, I think people shouldn't focus so much on him. They should focus on, what is really going on. I mean, what am I doing in my own community? I mean, all problems are local. So I don't care what the president's doing. If my neighbor's losing his job and I'm just turning a blind eye and not caring about that, then shame on me.
Right.
And I think that's going to be the story. And social media has weirdly disconnected us in an attempt to connect us. But in a weird way, I feel like once we get accustomed to this tool and we understand this tool better and we can use it, I think we will see much better things come forward. And this gets back to the whole Belardes 2020 thing we joke about, is maybe I don't run for Congress, or maybe I do as almost like a joke, and I'd say, hey, this is what I stand. Here's all the policies I think would fix all this stuff. But don't vote for me because you voters aren't ready for this. You guys like this show. You like us like this battle royale, 2-party death match constantly.
Yeah, I
and
could definitely get up there
shaming
and
the
talk
voters
shit like
into
Trump does.
Right.
Yeah, people
I
like
wouldn't have
that.
any policies, but I could definitely go over there and be like, stupid, no,
Right.
fake news.
And if we head into a major crisis, then I think the cooler heads will stand up and people will say, look, I'm tired of this battle royale. I mean, I got to put my kids through college, and I don't want to mortgage their future. And, Rob and I had a friend that we went to school with who died recently. I won't say his name, but he died recently. And my understanding is that he kind of developed a habit to deal with, he had a medical bill that was going to bankrupt him. And I am personally sick of this. I've known three people that died last year. 1 from suicide, 2 from this situation of taking pills and drinking, and they die because they're coping with whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's becoming. If you look at the numbers, and again, I don't want to sound depressing and negative, but if you look at these things, we're reaching epidemic levels, but it hasn't hit everybody yet. And as more of that happens, people are going to stand up and say, "Well, wait a minute, man. Like, okay, we need to do this. What are the practical solutions? Like, I don't care if you're left or right. Who has the right answer?"
There's sociologically, it's like we were talking about before. Soft times breed soft people,
Yes.
right? And the same, like I call it the Don. I think a lot of younger millennials than us have a Don Quixote syndrome, where it's like the battles have been too many of the battles that they wanted to fight have been fought. Not to say that some certain problems like racism or something like that is gone from America. Of course, it's not.
Right.
But it's like making the changes to our government to lessen these things were fights that they had before. And I think they continued. They pushed to have something to fight for.
Right.
That's what like every kid does. You want to establish. You want to fight the fucking system, fight the world. And it's like that's what this is now. But when you come after like conservative values at the core with like guns, number one, certain shit like that. Yeah, no, it's going to escalate. But they're both ramping up over and over and over again.
Well, and people need purpose and meaning in their life, and you're absolutely right. Like when I went to college and I'm studying politics, what did I really try and study? I studied Middle Eastern politics because things were changing big time right there, right now, and I studied 60s era politics because I'm thinking, oh wow, look at these, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. Like these people are making big changes in the world, and when you're young and idealistic, you want to make big changes. What's left to really do in our own country? I mean, and again, like you said, there's still racism, there's still problems, but they're almost trivial in terms of what happened prior.
In the history of the scope of the history of the world, it's the greatest place to be alive ever.
Our great-grandfathers were out there killing Nazis and saving Europe. The next generation was civil rights movement. The next generation is kind of good time 80s, let good times roll, rockin' 90s. What does that leave for us? I mean, what do I do to show my worth to the world?
I know.
It's a kind of an existential crisis, and it's
God, the 90s were good. I love the 90s so much. I don't just think it was because I was young. It was just a great time to be alive. Ska was popular.
Yeah.
Come on, kids. Oh shit. Well, dude, I think we're about ready to wrap this up, my friend. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the handful of people listening?
No, I just, like I said, I think if you're in California, get out and go see those national parks. It's so close. And be an optimist. I know it's easy to turn onto the news or stay off Twitter, God. But
Unless you're following us.
Yeah. But I think, when you look at America, so my 50 state road trip was really about what is America? What does it mean to be an American? Where did we come from and where are we going? I think there's a lot of reason to be positive. I think even if things get bad, in the short term, just recognize that's kind of the time to stand up. So if you are the person that says, I'm frustrated with this, there's going to be a time to stand up and make a difference, and you're not going to recognize it until you're saying, why isn't anybody doing anything? Hey, man, that's you. And that's really my whole philosophy.
Far out, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much for being here, Matt.
No problem. Great seeing you.
Since you're not selling anything, if you want to see Matt, go to Normandy on D-Day anniversary, because like a true patriot, he's going out there.
That is my next trip, actually. June 6th, 1944. Our boys landed on Normandy, France, so we're going.
That's right.
Nice.
Let's go. If you want to see him, that's where it'll be. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Follow us on all our Instagram, Twitter, and whatnots.
Please do. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks again for coming out. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.